Hey everybody, it's Tyler Skinner with Women Making Waves, and I am so excited to talk with Halleh Abedi. She is the principal and creative behind 5 Acres Agency, and she was kind enough and generous enough today to speak with us and our platform because we have an event coming up, Women Making Waves in Tech Girl Code on February 18th, and she's a phenomenal, amazing woman, changing the game, pushing the envelope just a little bit, just enough, and we want to hear all about her business and what she does and how she is making room for other women to come up in this space. So thank you, Halleh, for being here with us today.
Thank you. Thanks for the kind introduction.
Absolutely. Well, tell us first, I want to get started on your name, on 5 Acres Agency. And then I want to dig in a little bit more about you and kind of the person, the woman behind that and founder of that. What is in the name? What does 5 Acres Agency mean to you? What is that all about? Because that's something I definitely ask when I look at it, like, what is 5 acres?
That's a good question. So, it's kind of a fun story. My grandpa, who's in his 90s now, he had given me a book at one point after we bought a parcel of land, and it was called 5 Acres and Independence. And it was basically talking all about how on a plot of 5 acres, you can basically be self-sustainable. So you can grow your own veggies, you can build your own house. And the book is really dry, and it's like from the 50s, and gets very technical in how you can do that. But really, what I took from it is this concept of being self-sustainable on your own little plot of land. And I took that as a metaphor for what I'm doing here with the business. So, at the time I was working for other people, and I didn't find that really fulfilling for me. Sitting in a 9 to 5 all day was really challenging. And so I wanted to create my own sustainable business, self-sustainable business. And so that's where 5 Acres formed. And now with the partners and contractors and team that we have, everybody kind of has their own little 5 acre plot that they're creating their own self-sustainable business in whatever that they do. And we partner together to help make that flourish when we need to achieve bigger goals.
I love that. So you've got these little pods. Everyone's got their 5 acre plot and they're all kind of creating this whole community together by working together and
Yeah.
sharing ideas and sharing their resources. That's exactly, you've got a self-sustaining community, it sounds like, that you're building. It's not
Yeah,
just
everybody's
not just you, it's everyone else.
plot is unique too, which is great. Like the people that work on my team, we have some that are surface designers creating their own fabric line and products, and there's others that go snowboarding for weeks on end and then come back and work hard and focus. And there's just such unique creatives that are within the company itself that deliver on what we do. But they kind of have their own little pod and space of how they do their thing, and then when we come together, it creates amazing work. Yeah.
That's where the magic happens,
Yeah.
because if they're out there doing what they do and they love and they know themselves and they're like, I need this, I need some space.
Yes.
Then when you come together, like you said, it just makes bigger impact. I think that you're speaking all my language. Trust me. Every bit of that I resonate with 100%. So
Yeah.
I want to, going into that, it's a great segue into what I wanted to talk about next, was just going on. If you ever pop into Halleh's website and you check out 5 Acres Agency and you're looking on some of the things, a lot of times words are powerful, and visually when we see things, we're stimulated. We're kind of, there's like, whoa, what's that? We do a lot of discernment through visual stimulus. So when I'm looking at this, I'm seeing words like quality, like you don't compromise quality of what you do, but there's also boldness, and there's creating with love. And that was something that I really, really got excited about personally, because I thought, what does that mean, creating with love? And then looking into collaborating at the core of the creation, which is what you just described a little bit, with everyone having their own plot and coming together to do amazing things. But what's this whole idea of kind of creating with love? Is that how it starts? And then it goes out and spreads out into these 5 acres that everybody's got?
Yeah, creating with love, it's a good question. So really what that means to me is, we're passionate about what we do. And that doesn't just mean, moving pixels around and designing a website. It really is about who's going to benefit from what it is that we're creating. So is this, helping a business increase their revenue, great, but what's on the other end of that? This is a communication tool for, people in healthcare or people in need, or, so we really think kind of two steps beyond the actual end product, and think about the impact. And then when we create or when we partner with anybody, we're coming from that lens of love, because we want to support that client and make the work amazing. And it doesn't, we know we can't achieve the quality that we're looking for unless we put ourselves into it.
That's a perfect segue into sort of what I was wanting. I was hoping you were going to say that, actually. And I had a feeling and an inkling, but I wasn't totally sure. And I'm so thrilled to hear that, because I think a lot of what we're going to be talking about at Women in Tech, this event coming up, is the human side of tech.
Mhm.
That side that's emotional, and that's maybe some of the more feminine, or bringing in just some softness to it in an industry that's super fast growing. If there's always something new. You and I were just talking about this earlier about how many new apps and new things there are and new ways to connect. And so finding that solid ground, finding that way to be really loving and open and honest about what you're doing, is an awesome way. And you can absolutely do it. I think so. So what do you think on that? Is that something that you're really, I know you're focused on it and passionate about it, but what have you seen? Give me an example of how that's really translated within your business.
For us, so, I think bringing the human side to any type of digital work is so important. We are human beings and having technological experiences. And so we need to make sure that we're incorporating that. And there's so many ways you can do it through great design and then through, great experiences. So what we do is both on the visual design side, there's things that you can do, attributes that you can incorporate into your work that makes it feel more human. And that can be from, rounding corners, or choosing a typeface that's a little bit friendlier, or maybe it's a handwritten typeface or a texture that feels more lifelike, to, literally having pictures of humans or videos of people talking, or creating live, live experiences. And so I think, in the past year or so, we've seen this need for human connection, but having this digital limitation where we're not able to, communicate with people in person as much. And so I think lately we've seen a lot more attempts at how can we create live experiences, or how can we create video experiences, or bringing that human side to the technology.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think that's fascinating, because I didn't even think about that, even just the signatures, or just the way we infuse these little bits. And I
Mhm.
know video has become wildly popular, and that's something that
Yeah.
people want to see, even with things like Instagram, on social media. A lot of people are saying, I want to see a carousel feed, and I want to see, that. And then you have TikTok, and now you've got Reels, and you see people
Mhm.
like movement, seeing them actually in their day to day and their environment, and seeing who they are, because it gives you like a peek into their world a little bit
Yeah.
more, and who they really are, if they're moms, or they're, their sisters, brothers, they're going through emotions, like things are, this is real, it's life. And so
Yeah.
you want to see that. I think reality TV kind of started us on that train, and
Mhm.
now it's like with tech, I'm just seeing it more and more, and I absolutely love it. I also want to know, there's a duality to everything. So
Mhm.
on the flip side of that, what is some other things that you're seeing where you can be being, I guess, a word of caution, or just something to kind of get people to understand that there is also another side to that? As much as we're infusing this human approach, or we're infusing our emotions into this, and helping people to connect with us, what's the other side to that?
Well, I think, a common misstep that you would see with, I don't know, somebody in marketing, for example, like let's say you're doing digital marketing. There's a couple things there. I would say one is like focusing too much on features or what you're offering versus like that benefit, right? So the benefit is something that's like more human related. How does this impact your life? So does it give you peace of mind? Does it make you have more time? Like, how does it really make you feel? And we think about this in websites, but it's, starts from marketing and brand all the way through any kind of digital product, really thinking about the benefit. But on the other side of that, if you just focus on this feature, like, oh, we just offer this, this, and this, and you don't really like add that connective piece, then I think there can be big challenges there. And then I think on the other, another thing that's really important too, depending on, where you're at. You and I have talked about this a little bit too, where, 2020 really got people to show that authentic side, whether we like it or not, right? So we were forced to Zoom meetings with children in the background, or, sweatpants on, or whatever it
Yeah,
might
exactly.
be. So there's this kind of authentic nature that we got forced into, but it's kind of a beautiful moment, right? So there's now these things that are coming into play, that are imperfect, and I think that that's connective in a way that we can all, in marketing, or in advertising, or in, the way that we promote ourselves digitally or in tech in any way, that kind of authenticity of these kind of those bring the human side. On the converse of that is trying to maybe be too buttoned up or too perfect. You see that in reality TV when you can see that it's too staged. You're like, oh,
Exactly.
this isn't fun anymore. So the magic does come from those authentic moments and areas.
Because life isn't scripted. I mean, that's the thing, is real life is not scripted. And so we can try to control it. We can try to do as much as we can to provide structure and make it, move forward. But really, I mean, stuff happens that we just have no idea, and it's so unexpected. And one of the things that you talk about and you point out in that I love, because we have to challenge that a little bit and say, okay, I'm going to push myself to go with that a little bit, to the unexpected. But you like to challenge the expected, which I think is interesting too. I'm like, wait a second, what is that about? Let's talk about that for a second. That when you're working with clients or you're doing stuff in this industry, I mean, because this industry is I guess people say it's a male dominated industry. There's a lot of this, but I'm seeing growth, massive growth with
Mhm.
women coming in. And I'm wondering what that looks like. What are entry points? So we'll discuss that a little bit later. But right now, what's this challenging the expected? So if you're working with someone, are you just having, is it set the expect or meet their expectations and exceed them, or does it go beyond that?
No, for us, really, it's about, so challenging the norm is a core value of our company, and that goes from anything from our schedules to the way we, interact with clients. So, I like to go swimming and running, and I like to be with my kids and be very present with them when I'm with them. And so it ties hand in hand with this kind of work to live, not live to work mentality. And so when the way that our company culture is really based around this kind of, we go outside of the norm in that way, where people have more freedoms in their own 5-acre, plots, but we still create, wonderful work. But also, challenging the norm, sometimes in the design industry in particular, you know, like, for example, if someone came to me asking for a website, I am the type of person that is coming at it with love, right? As a business partner would say, well, let's talk about that more. Do you really need a website? And maybe it's that this company doesn't need a robust website. Maybe their customers are all on social media and they just need a really great social media marketing plan. And so, I think really kind of asking the right questions is what we mean by challenging the norm. We're not just go with the flow in the sense that we're going to do what you ask us to do every time. We're going to think about what that is that you
Mhm.
need, and then we're going to, make sure that we're delivering what it is that you actually need, not just what you ask for.
Yeah, you got to look at all sides, right? And I like to point out, my favorite is like the fourth side of the pyramid. So people always look at a pyramid and they're like, well, how many sides does it have? Oh, it has three, obviously. But there's that other fourth side that people just don't see. And
Yeah.
uncovering that is kind of part of that explorative stuff you're talking about. You have to like talk to people and be
Mhm.
able to say, I hear you, I hear what you want, and I hear what you're after, but this is kind of what you're needing in order to get there. And have you thought about this? And have you thought about this? And you're kind of like, I don't know, they call it provocative speak, I guess, in a way, because you're asking questions that are making them think a little
Yeah.
more than just, sure, we'll do that. Yeah, sure, you're paying us, we'll do it. That's
Right.
fine. Because
Right.
that's not really going to get them where they need to be. And they sometimes they don't even know it. I'm sure you deal with that a lot. They don't know what they
Yeah.
need, right?
Yeah. Of course, you have to ask the right questions to uncover it.
Yep, exactly. So let's switch gears a little bit, because we talked a lot about business and what you're doing, and it's incredible the work that you do and the clients that you have. And I know that for you, a big part of working with certain clients or discerning who you work with and how you handle this 5 acres that you've been given and
Mhm.
that you're creating and building is that you have core values. You brought that up a couple times already in the conversation, but what about your values? I want to know, switch more to Halleh now. Like, what's
Mhm.
you, all about you? Because how did you get into this? I think is one of the things we want to touch on. How did you get into this industry? What drives you? Like, what excites you about this industry? What are you seeing trend wise for women? Focus on
Yeah.
women. And what else is there? What else is there? What opportunities are out there that maybe we're not looking at? Like you said, asking those questions that we're
Mhm.
not we're not thinking about right now. So I gave you a lot, but we'll kind of unpack some of those individually.
Yeah, no, that sounds good. Well, I'll start with kind of how I got into this industry. So, I studied art and design at Cal Poly in San Luis Obispo here, and didn't I had a foundation in brand, and I still am really passionate about brand work, and started my career in that space. But I got offered a job for a digital company that was creating iPads or not creating iPads, they were creating iPad applications right when the iPad was kind of coming out, when it was like getting all this buzz and excitement. Might have been iPad 2, but it was something like 2012, 2011. And the first, I said okay because it was a good job opportunity, but I had never worked in digital before. I'd never worked in kind of the tech space before outside of, creating a few, websites in college. And my first client was Nike Running.
What? Right out the gate?
And out the gate,
Wow.
I am like, Nike is like on my mood board every day still. I mean, I've been like a diehard Nike person and I'm a diehard runner my whole life. And so this was my dream client, handed to me at age 24, 25, in a digital space that I knew nothing about, but I knew I had to do the absolute best work I could possibly do up to their standards, which is insane. And so that was a hustle. That was a hustle when I was young, and I just pushed and self-taught, and worked alongside a very small team of designers and developers, and really got into that space, and then just fell in love with it. Like the
Mhm.
fast pace, the flexibility. I was never much of a print designer because there's this like commitment. Once it's printed,
Yep.
it's done, and
Done.
I'm more, go with the flow and organic. And so for me, it felt more natural to be able to edit and modify things later down
Hmm.
the line. So that's how I got into that kind of digital space. And then continued to work for that company and others that, we just did amazing, wonderful work with a great digital team, and worked my way up the ladder. And then, yeah, at some point, I was working for someone else, and decided I I felt like there were so many things compelling me to do. I think I always knew I wanted to have my own business, but I also struggled with like having to be somewhere, on
Exactly.
somebody else's clock. Like it just, I was like, it's sunny outside. I want to go play. If I have nothing to
Yeah.
do at my desk, well, why do I have to stay here? And I just decided to kind of, as soon as I was pregnant with my first daughter, and I thought, I think this is the time to kind of, in combination with that, to move forward with, yes, like jumping off with having the own business, and creating a little more time for family as well.
Yeah.
So that's,
You knew that flexibility, that's your personality. You're
yeah,
all about creating and you're all about disrupting a little bit, it sounds like, in a good way, and you do it for good. And it's that will give you that flexibility that you're craving, is
yeah.
having that entrepreneur mindset and being like, I can make this work. It's not an easy journey, folks. Just so everyone's listening. It's not an easy journey, but it's a fun journey. And
Yeah,
if you're ready to embrace that and you want to do it, we're all about it. So
yeah,
I'm happy to hear that story, because even with pregnancy and having kids and all the things in life, you still can make that work and thrive in that
yeah.
space. So
Another important thing with that, though, that like if people are listening and thinking, I want to make sure it's known that throughout my whole career, I was freelancing on the side, building this business, right? So, I was doing the entrepreneurial things while having a stable job, and that was
mhm,
because I needed that job security and the paycheck, which we almost all do. And then I was hustling in the evenings, and it was something I'm passionate about and I love. So that was okay with me to do until this kind of got to a point where I could generate enough revenue to leave ship. And I think that's an important note, because when people are looking to
Totally.
do their own thing, I fully support it, but I also fully support being responsible, mindful, testing the waters, making sure you have a good plan, and doing it in a way that you can really be confident in doing it your way. Otherwise, you might get trapped on a lane that you might not want to be going down, even with your own business.
Exactly. I think someone brought it up at one of our recent events. It was being a responsible free spirit. So it's like it was perfect. It's like she raised her hand, this one gal, and she's like, "I'm a responsible free spirit." And we all looked at her like, "What does that mean?" And it's
Yeah.
basically what you just described. It's just having that level of responsibility, that knowing like, okay, I'm going to do it this way that feels comfortable, and I'm going to be there because I'm a mom or because I have a business or I have stuff going on, but at the same time having that freedom to really go out and explore some of those things and those sides of yourself that are more creative and risky
Yeah.
and are fun. And so I think that was really, it was really awesome way to describe it.
I
So
love
yeah,
that.
we're gonna hold that one. Nugget saved, saving that one. So yeah, but going back to those values though, I think that speaks to that as well. When you talk about people, that note, thanks for that, by the way, for sharing that, because I think that's a key aspect of building any business is you've
Mhm.
got to be able to know that you can do that in a way that feels good to you. So how do values play a role in what you're creating with 5 acres?
Yeah, they're not called core values for nothing.
Mhm.
But I do think that some companies just say, oh, we need core values, and so they'll write them out. But really, I learned in practicing this with a company I worked for with a great mentor and colleague of mine, Stephen Morris, and he is all about brand values and really practicing those in a way that the entire company can lean into it. And so we bring them up every day. Every time we work together, and we are collaborating, we mention why it's so good to work together, or why this was so much better because we did this together rather than in a silo, or that we're creating with love, or we complement each other in those ways.
Mhm.
I talk about it with my clients and share it with my clients often, the values that we have. And they're kind of these beacons for decision making as well. So, if we know that one of our values, I know for me, I'm not a, respond every second type of person. Like sometimes I've got certain things going on in my life, and I will get back to someone very quickly, but it's important for me to have a holistic lifestyle as well. And so that balance is important. And if as we're talking about this with clients, if their needs are different than that, if they need somebody to respond quickly or to be on site or at their desk at a certain time, and that doesn't fit with us, it's really nice to just kind of know, well, yours are different than mine, and we
Yeah.
kindly go different ways. And then the partnerships that we do have, where we're all okay with what we've put out on the table, it becomes easier to create with love, because we see we're in alignment with each other, on those kind of baseline values from the start.
Do you feel like, touching on that, do you feel like you can start out that way? Because I know you said a little back, rewind, you were talking about how you started this business and how you were
Mhm.
doing your freelance work on the side and building this up responsibly. You're like
Mhm.
responsible free spirit. And
Mhm.
you were doing that. But do you think that there's a way to do this? Like you're saying, now that everything's aligning and you know the core values, you know yourself, you know exactly what you're wanting to do and the mission and the purpose and intentions, everything's aligning and everything's gelling and working. Do you think that can be done from the very get-go, or you think there's a part of a process that people go through, especially women, I think, go through as they're building something to learn that, to get to that point? Or are you thinking there's a way to do it right from the start?
So that's such a good question. There's not like a magic moment where you're kind of like,
Mhm.
oh, these are my core values. It's evolutionary, and it builds upon each other. And you learn as you go. It's really important, just like personal values, what's really important to you from, in the core, it helps you kind of navigate life and decisions. As you're starting a new business, you've just got to kind of throw spaghetti on the wall and try it out and see if it works. I mean, you have to make sure it's like it means something to you, but, sit with it a little bit, try it, don't be afraid to kind of put out what you stand for and what you think you
Exactly.
might stand for. And I think that you'll know in your gut if this doesn't feel true to yourself. Um, and I think it's important that we check in with ourselves in that way and make sure that we're not having imposter syndrome or something like that, that you can,
Mhm.
really stand behind, what you're saying confidently. But yeah, being authentic and digging in, it takes a lot of work to dig in and think about
Oh
what
yeah.
what is important to me. Do we want to be that catch-all for everyone, or am I an expert in this area, or what kind of partnerships do I want, and what kind of clients do I want, and who do I want to work with? And those are the value, the, like, when we say quality is non-negotiable, we have like a very high standard for quality. It's like obnoxious when we work with
You're like, if
the
it's not
partnership
there, it's not
quality
happening.
standard that's there. And it really, really matters to us. And so that just understanding where you're at right now and kind of putting that out there, and then maybe even writing out aspirations, like, ooh, I think my vision for the company is this way of changing the world, right? And so you might be here right now, which is your purpose and your what you promised to deliver right now, but what's the vision? What am I
Mhm.
going for? And then you can kind of, all those little things in between will plot in between your now and your
Mhm.
vision.
I love that. I love that you used wave, of course. That's my symbol. That's everything. And so just to wrap it up, because I know we've got a few more minutes, but I definitely want to touch on this because it is our topic, and women in tech and the girl code and all this stuff. We're making it fun of you being this amazing, incredible woman in this industry. I wanted to know from you what's next. What are you seeing? What's lacking? How can we, as this change making wave that you just described, a platform like ours or several others that do highlight women in engineering, tech, and this type of industry, how
Yeah.
can we actually get out there and get some calls to action, get people not only inspired by what's going on, but get awareness and
Mhm.
find the ways to kind of increase that, level it up a little bit. What are you seeing?
Yeah. Let me think about that a sec. I think that, I'm very inspired by what I'm seeing in terms of just this movement of, women, you know, moving forward in all kinds of industries and claiming more, equity and all of that. I think specifically in tech, and I can mostly speak about design, user experience design, and software and web, and I think the best way that we can show up is to fully be present and make ourselves known. And so I think that we do see a lot of women in tech, but raising our hands and then having our male allies supporting what we say, making sure that we follow up, speaking up for ourselves. These are things I've learned over time, and I still have to do it constantly. Like, yes, I did mention that 1 minute ago. Like, what
Wow.
I mean? Like
Yeah.
getting mansplained, for example, that those things happen often,
Mhm.
right? And these are cultural, like micro cultural shifts that have to happen across a huge span of people. And so I think being loving about it, again, not being angry about like the mansplaining,
Mhm.
but saying, yeah, just standing up for yourself and saying, yeah, that is the, what I mentioned a minute ago, or yeah, my colleague Juliana had a great idea. I'm glad that you pointed that out again, and things like that where we're really owning our ideas, we're
Mhm.
owning our space, taking that seat at the table. I taught students at Cal Poly in interactive design, and I noticed there were just a room full of women, but then there were some, just really hesitant to own or share their words and their story and their ideas. And I think really owning your ideas and finding your voice and confidence in any room is what's going to kind of help culturally shift things.
Wow, I could not have said it better myself. I actually want to leave on one little more nugget because I'm getting a lot of these lately from people.
Yeah.
But one gal did mention to me recently, let's click the unmute button.
Yeah.
And I love that. I'm like, what? And she said, yeah, in every Zoom meeting you're in, ladies, just click the button and like you're saying, to your point, let's share an idea, share something, constructive feedback, give offer advice, but be part of the conversation,
Absolutely.
contribute and let people know that you're there. Be like,
Yeah.
hi, I'm here, because you can get lost, especially on Zoom and all these calls run. We're lost in the sea of people. There's page after page. You're scrolling through faces on some of these meetings. And so, yeah, you can be just another little dot in the corner. People can't see you and see what you are. So having that opportunity and being able to do that and having the confidence, I think, is really, really key. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, and even if it's not an opinion, even having a question,
Yeah,
you
a
know,
question.
like it's great. Like if you're not at the space of knowing something to share, like inquire more, like write your notes and then speak about them. It's you belong in that room because you're in that room.
Ooh, there it is. I'm gonna end it right there because that was amazing. That was amazing. That was mic drop right there, Holly. It was so good. It's like, be in the room because you're there. Own
Yeah.
it. You're there. Oh my gosh, perfect. I loved spending time with you today. I thought that was great. Thank you so much again for just being so open and honest and letting us know, get us a little peek into your business and your world and your life, because it's all part of the journey. It's all mixed in together. So we really, really appreciate that you took the time to speak with us and share your ideas and your thoughts and your inspiring work that you do, because we are just, you're definitely on the one to watch list, and we're watching, paying attention.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's been great. Can't wait for the event.
It's going to be so fun. I'm really looking forward to it. So thank you so much again for interviewing with us. And for those of you that are checking this out, please go and follow. How can they get a hold of you, Halleh? What's the best way? Is it through the website, or do you
Yeah,
want us to do
the
Instagram?
website or even on our Instagram, we're at
Mhm.
5 Acres Agency or 5acresagency.com.
Yep. And just connect with Halleh. She's amazing. She will absolutely reach back out and she will answer you, because a lot of people are going, nobody answers me. You're not that person. So
There's a lot
absolutely
of
reach out and
digital.
ask questions and be curious and connect. So thank you so much for doing that. If you're joining us, we are going to have our event February 18th at 5 p.m. It is on Women Making Waves. You can grab tickets at Eventbrite, and we will see you there. Thanks, Holly, so much again for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Have a wonderful day. Great rest of your week.